Then I asked myself, today on the sister station, I asked the question to the questioner, the host. I said, will I be right to say that Hassan Ayariga bribed Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo to be very raucous at the Tamale debate? Because every time His Excellency spoke in Tamale, Akufo-Addo laughed and was very, very disruptive of the event. So is that something we didn't see? Did Hassan Ayariga bribe Akufo-Addo to disrupt His Excellency in Tamale? What kind of logic is that?
Okay, we'll come to that. But quickly, dealing with specific topics, Honorable, corruption. I was not surprised to hear Akufo-Addo, made quick reference to the issue of judgment debt. It was almost, inevitable, if you ask me, considering the NPP political strategy. Were you surprised?
Never surprised. Remember on Tuesday I said that we asked the question on my impressions before the IEA debate, and I said that was the strategy they were going to go to. Unfortunately for them, what is happening is that the Woyome issue is now on a back burner. Okay. They are trying to raise it to support their free SHS. MPP wanted to run this campaign on two critical issues: free SHS and Woyome. Woyome has gone off the table, but there are still little vestiges of it, and therefore they refer to every now and then under the broad term corruption. And then their signature tune, free SHS. So it was not surprising that Nana Akufo-Addo quickly latched onto it. But he's an attorney general who has also paid judgment debts. And that's why the president rightly referred to him that, but you are a lawyer. And you understand the issues that are here. So why are you trying to make it look like it's something out of this world? You understand? This is a legal practitioner. And he didn't understand that judgment debt is per se, is not an issue that we cannot talk about. It's an issue we can talk about because there are things that really happen that are taken through the judicial system that allows the courts to rule, and when the ruling is given, implementation has to be done in terms of payments of these things. So for a lawyer of his magnitude, sitting down and making fuss about something that is more of a judicial issue, for me was very surprising. But that's why the president questioned his legal judgment. Aside that, what was he going to say anyway on corruption? What was he going to say? Especially when Hassan Ayariga had referred him to the fact that his President Kufuor, had said corruption comes from, emanates from Adam and Eve. So there was nothing he could say than to tailor into this Woyome issue, but he seriously backfired. And from that point on, he stopped his unnecessary, needless rebuttals. He realized that this time he was in for something very different.
Absolutely. George, Akufo-Addo still insists he's incorruptible, and therefore he will demand same from his people, and for to show dedication to fight against corruption, leadership is key. And since he's not corrupt, everything will be fine.
There again, he exposed his shallowness. You see, if you want us to use Akufo-Addo's logic, then I can confidently say, like John Jinapor rightly pointed out, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is light years ahead of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, because His Excellency has never been accused of being a weed smoker.
Oh,
yeah. Okay. If that is the kind of logic you want us to, that's Akufo-Addo's logic. And I think it is extremely pedestrian for us to bring politics with regard to the highest office of this land to that level. Look, it is a fallacy, a huge lie, that Akufo-Addo has never been accused of corruption. It is simply because the remit of the full of corruption, the full remit of corruption is lost on him. He thinks corruption just has to do with payment or financial aspects. The point has to be repeatedly made to Akufo-Addo that even narcotic trade thrives on a government that is corrupt.
Okay.
Akufo-Addo has pending questions over the disappearance of diplomatic passports at Foreign Affairs Ministry. Now that, for me, if you cannot handle diplomatic passports, you put up a billboard that you are the man Ghanaians should trust with their money. When even our diplomatic passports got missing under you, what will happen to fiscal cash? The same man was responsible at the Attorney General's Department and Ministry of Justice when the three executives of Jowulu NPP branch were arrested with 1.7 kilograms of heroin at Kotoka International Airport. Their docket under Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo got missing. They were given bills under very, very frivolous circumstances, and they have disappeared into thin air.
No prosecution.
These are questions Akufo-Addo has to answer. Who says he has not been accused of corruption? We have a court judgment. A competent court of jurisdiction in this country has passed judgment, and in the judge's statement or ruling, if you read his ruling, he has clearly stated, mentioning Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo as the kingpin of a cartel which sought to specialize in securing judgment debt payments for potential judgment debt claimants. You understand? In the Rockshell case, Akufo-Addo is cited as being the cause for the inflation of a service charge from 20% to 50%. He was requesting 30% of a $70 million judgment debt case. Okay. He has still not come to answer it. Today, I can put on record officially, since his party general secretary has stated that they will not respond to the press conference that was addressed by RAP yesterday.
Okay.
About
questioning his educational background at Oxford.
I will put on record and challenge him, and it is going to be serialized, that he was in the university, he was admitted to the University of Oxford in the 1962-1963 academic year. We would now further ask him a question. What year did he leave the Oxford University? He should come back again and tell us why he won't answer. And we'll give him that date, and then we'll ask a further question as to what led to his leaving the university. But once again, if you were admitted into a prestigious university like Oxford University, and you fail to put it on your CV, you are hiding something of this magnitude from the Ghanaian people. Can we trust you to be a man of integrity? And that is why Akufo-Addo yesterday ran away from the question on fighting narcotics. Yeah. The man cannot speak on narcotics. If you can't speak on narcotics, it means you have something to hide. And when Hassan Ayariga says that I will not appoint drug barons as my advisors, then you get offended. Why should you get offended? Is it because your uncle Kwache, a convicted drug baron, was an advisor to you? You see, look, when old bones are mentioned, when dry bones are mentioned, old ladies scream. Okay? So this man cannot even proceed on that premise that he is incorruptible because there have been no charges of corruption against him. There are a long list of corruption charges. Even U.S. diplomatic cables indict him as being a narcotic user. If you are a narcotic user, can you fight corruption in this country?
That is a serious allegation.
Yes. And he has failed to respond to any of these allegations. If he decides to play the ostrich, it doesn't mean that allegations have not been made against you. If Mr. Akufo-Addo says he's incorruptible because there are no allegations of corruption against him, then he's the most corrupt person because he has the most corruption charges against him yet unanswered.
I had the, what you call it, the sad opportunity of listening to his aide, Abu Jinapo, who attempted to, assault the moderator at the IEA, that he's not been given that brief. He's not been advised on what to talk about concerning that education at Oxford, which presupposes that something really is there, except that he has not had the clearance to comment on. So that clearly gives some credence to the allegation that indeed he might possibly have enrolled there between 1962 and 1963.
The Research and Advocacy Platform has gotten in touch with the University of Oxford authorities.
I'm sure at appropriate time you make them available,
which would make him run for cover. I can assure you of that.
Good. Honorable.
Yes.
The most important issue to me, I think, had to do with the foreign policy vis-a-vis, security. Yes. Continuously, you hear the opposition party, as indicated by their presidential candidate yesterday, that they have chanced upon some UN reports and it has indicted Ghana. Ghana is not being transparent. Ghana is not forthcoming with the issue of dissidents from Cote d'Ivoire in Ghana. How true is this?
Well, I thought that was one of the most reckless statements or positions to be taken by any presidential candidate who wants to rule this country. You have to look at the Ivorian situation in three phases. We have the pre-crisis situation.
Okay.
We have during the crisis itself and the post-crisis situation. Now, what Nana Akufo-Addo was alluding to was basically the post-crisis situation, and even made mention of the pre-crisis situation when he said a policy of Zilfiasem. What this man doesn't understand is that Ghana as a country would never allow its territory to be used as a base for attacks against another country. That is what he doesn't understand. He is trying desperately to create a wedge situation between Ghana and La Côte d'Ivoire, just for political gain. And he wants to rule this country by creating a wedge situation between two sister countries. I have a hard time understanding that kind of logic. Because look,
that is dangerous.
Yes, very dangerous. It's a reckless statement coming from any political leader. Today, I am getting calls from my counterparts in La Côte d'Ivoire who are alluding to what he has said. Okay. Meanwhile, he never provided any shred of evidence to support what he said. He is saying it on the back of nothing. just on the back of a UN report that has been grossly discredited.
Oh, okay.
You understand? This report has been grossly discredited because, one, this report was written by people who went to La Côte d'Ivoire, never came into Ghana in the first place. To ascertain, yes, to ascertain what they were writing in their reports.
Okay.
And today, you sit here, a presidential candidate wanting to rule Ghana, to make those same baseless allegations. I mean, he must continuously sit down and reflect carefully. If he cannot plunge Ghana into a chaotic situation by his political skills, he's trying to do it across borders, and that is not good. Look, when President Ouattara, after Gbagbo had been ousted,
okay,
President Ouattara, or even during the crisis, President Ouattara at all times when he stayed in the Gulf Hotel was protected by Ghanaian troops who were part of the UN forces. He was protected by Ghanaian troops who were part of the UN forces. They continue to offer him protection even till today. You understand? After the crisis, when Ouattara had to be sworn in and he couldn't get the head of the Constitutional Court to come and perform that function because it is constitutionally mandated, he does that.
Okay.
It took Ghana and President Mills to get that man who had come to Ghana to go back to La Côte d'Ivoire and perform that function for President Ouattara to become president. So what is Nana Akufo-Addo talking about? There is close collaboration, political and security-wise. I have my counterpart in La Côte d'Ivoire, Ahmed Bakayoko. He's the Interior Minister. Okay. I have a good relation. We speak almost every week. We speak almost every week on the situation here and the situation in La Côte d'Ivoire. And therefore, for him to sit there and say some of these things is quite despicable. Because, look, if he wanted to learn about this very situation, he should have consulted members of his party who were on the Defense and Interior subcommittees of Parliament. Yeah. Because my minister and the National Security Coordinator spent close to 3 hours briefing that committee on the situation in Ivory Coast. So why didn't he get that brief from them?
So they know.
So they know. Why is he doing what he's doing? Trying to plunge the country into a chaotic situation 2 weeks before an election? I mean, what is wrong with this man?
Is it that he has a very short sighted view in terms of the effects of his pronouncement?
No,
or is it a deliberate advancement of all that he died?
It is deliberate.
Okay.
Nana Akufo-Addo is desperate to be president, and he doesn't mind plunging this country into war just to achieve that ambition. It is completely deliberate. And I know there's a financial gain that is attached to it for him as a presidential candidate.
You mean they are being sponsored?
Of course, there are elements in La Côte d'Ivoire who will sponsor him for what he is doing. You understand? What is happening is that they had banked their hopes on Sarkozy becoming president of France.
Okay.
And Sarkozy was into this meddling in African nations. All these things that happened in North Africa, the Arab Spring, Sarkozy was beneath it. Sarkozy was prepared to use his influence with regards to his relationship with Ouattara to do the same thing with Ghana. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. Francois Hollande is not interested in what is happening. Okay. Therefore, he's remained aloof to it. He's not going to send Ivorian troops, French troops into, Africa to engage in this kind of, because he has enough problems at home to deal with.
Does this concern the struggle for the oil fields that
Exactly. For a person who wants to rule this country, where one of our base resource is our oil, you want to sell us to our next country. That's a sad.
Very, very, very sad.
Very indeed. Sad.
George, Akufo-Addo seems to be out of touch when it comes to issues of foreign policy and engagement with our neighbors. Most Ghanaians have expressed very, very sad comments regarding his posture. They think it is a very dangerous ground he's treading, and it will not inure to anybody's benefit. He should look at the bigger picture if indeed he wants to be the leader of this country. Is that a position you share?
Ali, first and foremost, let me make a correction. He doesn't appear to be out of touch with issues regarding foreign policy. Okay. He's out of touch with regards every issue. It's not just, this doesn't have to do with foreign policy, every issue. Good. Now, look, the man is a warmonger. A warmonger cannot thrive in a peaceful nation.
At all.
When he has baby warlords like Anthony Abbey Fakabo baying for blood, he needs a chaotic country. A country where the rule of law is absent. It is not working. A country which is tottering on the brink of being a failed state. A country where there is absolute warfare, anarchy. That is where he can thrive. And do not forget that a lot of people get rich when wars happen. Yeah. Because there's a lot of money to be made in every war. Wars don't just happen. Wars are huge economic outreaches. Okay. And so if Akufo-Addo is baying for blood, And if he's built a crescendo, and right now he's picked at the top of the crescendo, starting from Etiwaye Chom Bibi Kakra Woho, Obi and Honey, Obi Ade Yaminu, Yen Akan for, Yen Achem for, you know, all of those statements. Then he moves it a step forward where his top lieutenant Kennedy Japong says, let's annihilate guns and Neves. You know, Anthony Cabo is caught on tape planning to bring mercenaries into this country.
Not forgetting the chairman.
You know, you have Jake saying that Akans are warriors or whatever he calls. They are the majority. Okay, once again, his geography is poor. I understand. Well, he didn't finish SS, so it's understandable that his geography is poor. But then the point must be made that when you have leading members of the NPP who are all friends, again, Ayariga statement, advisors. All his advisors around him are baying for blood. Nyaho Tamaklu, Sami Ewuku. You get it. You have people saying that, look, you woman from the airline say. You get it.
You don't need license.
Yes, you don't need license for pistols. You know, at the end of the day, you should understand the psyche of the man.
Okay.
And yesterday, for him, was the biggest platform for him to sell his paymasters agenda, which was to create chaos and create bedlam in this country. When His Excellency pointed out to him that, look, as Commander-in-Chief of the Republic, I am privy to information you do not have.
Exactly.
He threw it to the dogs. Ali, again, he makes all his unsubstantiated facts on the basis of...
I'll come back to you. Stay with me. I'll be right back. Unfortunately, I need to cut George, but I'll give him an opportunity.
The election promises, the will and wherewithal to execute. Voters take. We bring it all to you on Manifesto Digest. Here we gauge the wish list versus the reality. How do the promises measure against the records and performance indicators? Manifesto Digest, an election headquarters program. On Joy News, only on multi-TV. Also on radio and online. And supported by Stargum.
Need some clarity on election issues? Join us on Constituency Watch. This on every Monday to Friday at 10 p.m. Constituency Watch, showing on Joy News, only on Multi TV.
Welcome back to the show. If you're just joining us, this is Majority Caucus live on your multi-TV. With me in the studio, I have been having a very powerful discussion so far, looking at some of the specific topics discussed at the IEA presidential debate last night. With me is Samuel Georginetti, member of Government Communication Team, and Honorable Deputy Minister for Interior, Honorable Kobi Achampo. George, before the break, you were telling me about Akufo-Addo's stubbornness when it comes to security and warmongering.
You see, at the first IEA debates, Akufo-Addo made reference to the internet as the source of his information at that debate. Now again, at the second debate, he makes reference to a UN subcommittee report, not the UN report. He creates a perception that it is a UN report. A General Assembly report. It is a subcommittee report. Now, that report was done at a time where the Ministry of Interior and the BNI and National Security had worked to pick up one Prosper Chikata, who had decided to play a con man role by knocking the heads of the security forces in La Côte d'Ivoire and members of the former government here. He was involved in his own scheme, grand scheme, to defraud them of a couple hundred of thousands of dollars. He created that impression for the authorities in La Côte d'Ivoire that there were people here in Ghana who were plotting a coup. Created an impression for people here in Ghana too that there was an opportunity for them to come back to power. And in the middle of this, he was playing both teams and trying to make money out of it. That is the time that, and so if you read that report, The dissidents that report refers to are the people who Prosper Chikata had spoken to the Ivorian counterparts about. Okay, and so clearly, if a stint operation by the BNI, our Ministry of Interior and National Security, was able to pick up Prosper Chikata, he's actually been sent to court and is being prosecuted for his criminal activities. If recently 2 people were trying to run traffic arms through this country into Côte d'Ivoire, they were picked up again, I believe, in Cape Coast, okay, by Ghanaian intelligence. Tell me how that report can be the basis for you to draw a foreign policy.
But let me get this straight. Those UN representatives for the subcommittee were not even in Ghana.
Clearly not. They picked most of their reportage from press briefings which had come up. Okay, and so at the end of the day, the people or the dissidents Akufo-Addo is claiming are dissidents, in quotes, who have been picked up by Ghanaian intelligence, handed over to Ivorian authorities for prosecution. And so if we are working and making sure that Ghana is never going to be a launch pad to destabilize any country on the subcontinent, why should the leader of the largest opposition want to create an impression that, look, Ghana is a launch pad for anarchy and terrorism? And Ali, what is most interesting and intriguing is, look, there are elements in Ouattara's government who believe that the Jubilee field should be annexed and made Ivorian property. They believe that our oil fields are in Ivorian territorial waters.
That is serious.
And currently, there's a dispute over it which is being managed with matured diplomacy. Akufo-Addo tells us that his whole campaign is about free SHS. When he's asked how he will fund free SHS, he says he's going to fund it from the oil money. The people his paymasters, who he is trumpeting that Ghana is unstable, so that they will bring him to power, wants to lay their hands on that oil.
Okay.
If they lay their hands on the oil,
I wonder
in
where
the
he'll get the money.
unfortunate and unlikely event,
Most unlikely
event of him becoming president, where is he now going to get the money to fund his free SHS? Look, the man is as confused as the word confused.
Okay, thank you, George.
Let me provide some additional insight. You see, what is happening in Côte d'Ivoire today is as a result of the fact that the Ouattara regime has not been able to consolidate the situation back home. And these are in several fronts. Remember, he got power through the rebel army. It's a rebel army, the new forces.
Mostly from the north, Yes.
But he also got help from people who were based in the south, particularly in areas like Yopougon. You know, they were led by a guy whose name I've forgotten. He was called the Invisible Soldier. These were the guys who, during the crisis, could attack the Ivorian forces and could not be located. As soon as Ouattara took over, this man was killed. Yes, this man was killed under mysterious circumstances. So it is the remnant of his forces who are currently staging the attacks in Côte d'Ivoire. You understand? He hasn't been able to consolidate the situation, that's one. Two, he owes rebels of the new forces salaries that have not been paid. He owes them salary, and these people are not happy. They fought for a war, and they were supposed to be paid. And finally, they've not been completely reintegrated into the Ivorian army.
Okay, that was a promise.
Yes, that was a promise. What would you expect when you make all these promises and you fail to deliver on them, especially when you are dealing with people who had had no formal training in military tactics and everything, do not have the military discipline to behave the way they have to behave in an army? So that is the problem that is confronting Ouattara, and he's not been able to deal with them in a more succinct manner. And therefore, for Nana Akufo-Addo to gloss over this, if he hasn't got that information, I pardon him. But for him to go ahead and say Ghana is hosting dissident is something that should be completely rejected.
The rebel leader he makes allusion to is called Ibrahim Koulibaly.
Yes, yes, Koulibaly, yes.
You understand me? And so these are real problems on the ground inside of Ivory Coast. And so it should not be, if Ivory Coast has its own internal issues, it is only childish and very myopic for you to want to make them Ghana's problems. We have our own problems. We will tackle our own problems. We will continue to remain the shining star on the African continent and offer leadership to the rest of Ghana. You see, it is interesting that in discussing foreign policy, he attacks the memory of a living, of a president.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what were the fallout by the position taken by the late President Mills when he said, for instance, let's mind our own business?
You know, it's instructive. This morning I was on the nation's flagship, GBC. And a tape was played of the Dioufe Assem speech, where His Excellency made the point clear. He was in Parliament. He said, look, my Diufi Assem policy is simply because I am here to address Parliament on issues relating to Ghana. It is a State of the Nation address.
No
It
State
was
of
not a
Africa.
State of African Union address. And so if it's a State of the Nation address and he's doing his fair Assem, and you were asking him to make comments on Tunisia and Libya at that point in time where he was delivering a State of the Nation address, what was the direct correlation there and now? Now, Akufo-Addo has the audacity to insult or take a swipe and ridicule the memory of the late president. Yet he says Hassan Ayariga has no right to take him on.
I'm going to put that question to you. Let's look at the conduct, really. I am most disgusted, and I'm happy that many Ghanaians share that sentiment. The attack after the debate that it appears Hassan Ayariga should be towing the same line as the MPP or the CPP attack the sitting president, and that it is not important you look at your opponent. But I thought in debate, the common logic is that you try to, deal with the common enemy, and then you look at the bigger one. You discredit your, because at the end of the day, when the NDC is not there, there's going to be struggle among the three parties wanting the same position. So is it not safe to say that he has every right to attack his own, opponent, although they are all in opposition?
You see, Ali, the attacks on Hassan Ayariga now are unwarranted. But typical of the NPP, they will have to do it because their candidate didn't show up. That is one.
Okay.
If you look at everything that Hassan Ayariga said with respect to the Akufo-Addo, they were facts.
Yeah.
He never lied about anything. Hassan Ayariga didn't talk about all die be die. He didn't originate all die be die. He didn't originate Yana Kamfo. He didn't originate at all costs. He didn't talk about the go kill Evers and Ashanti's guns. These are things that were said by the NPP, led by their presidential candidate who was sitting down there. And therefore reminding you of the things that you have said didn't constitute any affront. It didn't constitute any affront. He was just reminding you, you have said this. You want to rule this country. But in the course of trying to rule this country, these are your records. You've said A, B, C, D, E. And I'm trying to do something different. That's why he made allusion to the fact that he went to meet President Mills. And he was characterized as an NDC man. Even his own party was against him. But he said he doesn't have to do the same thing all over again and get the same reward. He wants to do something different and get a different result. So for you to be saying these things, you should not even be sitting there trying to be president of this country.
Indeed.
And that is a fact. He should not be sitting there. If we were an advanced democracy, Nana Akufo-Addo would never have been a candidate just based on the kinds of things he said.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more with you. But George, let me take my third break. When I come back, we'll look at the issues surrounding decentralization and as to how the various aspirants answered the question regarding that topic. I'm sure you are enjoying the discussion so far. George, it is out of sync with any logic regarding politicking that anybody within their camp at this moment, 2 weeks to election, would want to pounce on their own presidential candidate. What could be the possible motivation for the likes of Atik and Abu Ramadan, the youth organizer, to be after Ayariga?
Before I even address that, let me just draw your mind back. After the first debate, when we said it was going to be a three, before the first debate, when we said it was going to be 3 against 1, they told us that, why were we saying that? That everybody was going to come there independently and debate and state their case. When we said there were going to be 3 people ganging up against His Excellency the President. Today, Hassan Ayariga comes as an independent person, states a position for his party, and we are being asked, he's being attacked that why didn't he come under a consolidated attack to form a consolidated attack against the presidency. What kind of hypocrisy is this from the NPP? Okay, look, you have young men like myself and yourself, Atik Mohammed, Henry Asante, Abu Ramadan. Because politics has become very cheap and easy, just stand and hold press conferences and call for they claim that he's going to see, he will see what will happen to him. He's finished. Your president, your party's elected presidential candidate, your flag bearer. You ask yourself, Atik Mohammed, what is his motivation?
I wonder.
There have been reports in today's newspaper that this morning, Atik Mohammed and Henry Asante met with Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo. They have not come out to dispute those facts. What was that meeting about before their press conference?
Okay.
What is Abu Ramadan's whole motivation for spearheading and reading that press conference? Is it simply because his sister, his elder sister, is wife to Mahmoud Baumia, and he feels that the closest he can get to power in this country is to be the brother of a second lady, and so he was going to frustrate the PNC, and that is why his father, Alhaji Ramadan, has also decided not to get involved in the PNC campaign, because they want to frustrate the PNC for their parochial family interest. Look, the PNC is not a family property. It is not a cartel for people, okay? Atik Mohammed has gone ballistic because he went to request 40% of whatever was raised in terms of campaign funding.
Okay.
Hassan Ayariga has put this
That's
out to the
very
public.
greedy.
That Atik came to him and said, whatever monies have been raised for their campaign, he wants 40%. One Yenchedi, one Chendi.
That is
And
bad.
Muhammad Ayariga said, it's not possible, it's for a campaign.
Okay.
If I give you 40%, how much are we going to use to do the campaign? And he goes angry and storms out and immediately
I
starts
didn't know
attacking the man.
he's that greedy.
Okay, these are the characters who are assaulting the man.
You know what is most interesting is I have had some information that perhaps the EC is almost done with the printing of the ballot. So even if they should get him out,
I mean,
They can't do anything about it.
He'll be on the ballot.
yes, sir. I now invite you though to join in the discussion on 030221170124, 030221170124. Were you happy with attack Kwabena Japan, Abu Jinapo, moderator Ayarga, the whole place?
You know, this
it
guy
has to take the intervention of the security.
These guys have a certain what do you call it, penchant for doing the most despicable things when you least expect them to do it. Look at the setting in which the debate was held. Very calm atmosphere, people enjoying themselves. And then after that...
Let me do this exercise quickly, I'll be back. Hello, Zion.
Yeah, hello.
Good evening and welcome to the show.
Yes, good evening. Thank you very much, my brothers. You people are doing a wonderful job, especially Samuel George. By the way, my condolences to the family of the late Vice President, Aliu Mama. His families will take it in good faith, in the work of God. It is God who gives, and it is God who takes.
Indeed.
But my problem is to how Samuel George is feeling. He was working with the former Vice President at the capital.
Say that again. Say that again.
You were working with the former Vice President, Aliu Mama. How are you feeling? Now he's gone.
Well,
how are you feeling? I just want to know, how are you feeling?
I did my national service for 10 months with Aliu Mahama. I worked for 3.5 years with President Mills. And so, as far as I'm concerned, they are all...
Excuse me, let me finish.
Be brief. I do not have much time, Zion. Please.
Yes, okay, let me conclude. Let me conclude.
Quickly.
I want someone just to tell the whole world how he's feeling. He will just tell us how he's feeling for working with the late Vice President. Today he's castigating NGT members. How is he feeling?
Okay, thank you very much for your question. But let me take this one from Rosalind from Dansoma. Hello, Rosalind.
Yeah, hello, good evening.
Good evening. Welcome to the show, the first female caller.
Yeah, thank you.
You're most welcome.
In fact, I'm very, very happy the man in the red is saying that Akufo-Addo is desperate.
Okay.
He's more than the word desperate. And we Ghanaians are not ready to have a leader who is too desperate to share blood, to do all sorts of things. All that I'm saying is that we should all be prayerful and go for the best, but not Nana Akufo-Addo.
Okay, thank you very much, Rosalind, for your views. Would you want to respond to that?
I think as far as I'm concerned, I was here on Friday, joined Caucus, and I shared my feelings about how the passing of Aliu Mahama meant to all of us as a nation. He's a human being. I did my service for 10 months. I had opportunity to meet with him and work with him. I think I've known his wife for about 4 years because her son was my junior in tech. And so for me, it was sad news. But then for me, at the end of the day, I'd worked with President Mills for 3.5 years before his demise. And so as far as I'm concerned...
The last time I checked, MPP and NDC are not enemies.
We're not enemies. A Ghanaian, a former president had been lost, and
Indeed.
that's all.
Honorable, you were on a point.
Yes, look at the setting that we had a debate. And then you have people who are supposed to know better go ahead and attack a moderator. I mean, what caused that attack?
So he wanted a rebuttal.
You want a rebuttal when you have already concluded your statement? Whose statement are you going to rebut? Whose concluding statement are you going to rebut? I mean, Nana Akufo-Addo always want to have a rules change when the game is on. We spell out the game rules before we start. And therefore, you cannot attempt to change it when the game is on. He did that in the last debate. When he was supposed to have concluded in 2 minutes, he asked for 3 minutes. That was granted him, so he thought this was an opportunity to do the same thing again. What kind of indiscipline is this?
Indeed. But Samuel George, really, I was not too happy with Akufo-Addo's response to the question regarding decentralization. He seems to think that free SHS is the ultimate solution to the problems confronting the ordinary masses in Ghana.
You see, Akufo-Addo is behaving like a spoiled child. A spoiled child, when you give him a vanilla flavored toffee, he says, no, I want strawberry. When you give him strawberry, he says, no, I want chocolate. And that's how he's behaving. A spoiled child. Okay, that is clearly what he feels. He has a biological heritage in the presidency, and so it is his birthright, because we've heard that his father promised him or told him as a child that one day he'll be president. Whose father didn't tell him that?
That sounded like a movie.
You know, but then at the end of the day, for me, the point must be made here that on the issue of decentralization, His Excellency, I think that was, for me, the highlight of the night. Okay, when you had people talking about free SHS as their way to decentralizing this country, and they couldn't give you cogent facts as to how or processes by which they would deepen the decentralization process. His Excellency, well, me, I won't lie. Yesterday night, I was educated. I got to know that decentralization is broken down into 3. Administrative, financial, and political. And I got to understand that we had done the administrative part, which was decoupling the local government workers, staff from the civil service. You understand me? After doing that, I got to know that there was a financial part, which has also been done by us being able to move their payments from CLOSAG and all of that, and that it is left to the political part, which again, this government has shown the will in saying that, look, we should elect our DCs, and certain amounts of remuneration should be given to our assembly members. Look, I got schooled yesterday, and I believe Akufo-Addo had his jaw dropped listening. Look, and I can tell you something. You look at Kojo Nkrumah, and he was staring at his president like his Excellency.
Quickly, in 30 seconds, maternal mortality. Quickly.
Well, it's all free SHS.
Yes.
You know, that's what he said.
I couldn't stop
laughing. It's free SHS. Look, very soon, trust me, he is going to promise all Ghanaian women free Brazilian hair. That is what is going to happen. He is going to promise all Ghanaian women free Brazilian hair. The man is desperate. He wants to promise everything. Very soon he'll add to the young men.
Okay, thank you. On that note, thank you very much, gentlemen, for making. I've run out of time. Special dedication to Mariam Rabiu of Gold Station 37, the Shell Shop, and then a special regard also to Abraham Yaya Ferguson, a very good friend of mine, and the executive producer, Defunct. And on that note, I end tonight's discussion. Samuel George, there's no.
I beg the IEA and Kojo Nkrumah to hold their esteem in the highest order. We hear they are being put under pressure to issue a statement that Akufo-Addo did not heckle them. We saw it. They should not go down the road of other people in this country.
Majority Caucus will be keeping an eagle eye on this development, and whenever anything happens, I will not hesitate to bring to your attention. Thank you very much for joining in tonight. Stay good and be blessed. Bye-bye.